Okay. Well, we spent the first 30 minutes of this podcast getting set up for 4 people. I'll be honest, I'm not really hungover, but I'm a little bit hungover.
Oh, from
That's exciting.
wine, Negronis?
From 1 Negroni and 1 red wine.
Both. Nailed it.
Oh, wow. You said both. Nice.
But when did they happen? Like last night or this morning?
20 minutes ago.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, last night. I know I was up late. Anyway, so that's my excuse for today.
Okay.
For right now.
Yeah. And also I was doing the pre-clean that I often do. We always record on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Tuesdays every 2 weeks is when the housekeeper comes. And then I have to clean as if,
Right.
like in a way that I never clean
Right.
when no one's coming. Anyway, this is not my time. It's your time.
Sounds like you've given us an update then.
Yes, that
And
is.
that was your check-in.
No more from you.
So sexy. So sexy.
Today's guest has been a long time coming. And hi, Jenny. We have Jenny back this season.
girlies.
It's your first time on this season, right?
I don't know
I
when
think
the
so.
season started.
I don't remember.
So let's say yes.
Yeah, I think
Hey
so.
guys, I've missed you all.
We've missed you.
And our special guest today is Christina Woodall,
Yay.
who is also one of Jenny's oldest, bestest friends.
I mean, you don't have to say the one of.
One of the only.
officially takes
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Officially. Great. I wasn't sure. So thank you.
It's defined by the person who tells you they're my best friend.
Gotcha.
All I know is that's how she introduces me, so that's all I can say.
I do that, but to several best friends, and I always wonder if they notice.
Yeah.
Every time I say it, I'm like, is another best friend thinking, but she said that about me?
Right. Sheila's like, well, who's your 8th grade best friend then?
I have a best friend for every year.
I say best friend and then immediately say, but one of my best friends. And then I have to realize how weird that sounds.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I do try to say one of my best friends.
Yeah.
But it's
one of
also
my
like,
many
it
best
is-
friends.
It is your best friend in that lane, in that time of life. And
Yeah.
Well, and I could actually claim because this
Yes,
isn't
it's part of
also
our story,
Yeah,
right.
your title.
Do you want
Me?
to? Yeah.
That
What are
I'm
you
your
gonna say?
closest friend? Yes.
We're officially claiming it, sealing it, time capsuling
Well,
it right now.
it's just a fun part of our early friendship.
Go ahead. Say.
Very early friendship. In fact, it was so early.
It was the day we met.
Yes, that Jenny announced to her family that I've just met, like, Christina is my closest friend. And
Adam
said,
please tell me you mean proximity.
because
And I was like,
we were
no,
new
actually,
next door
I don't.
neighbors. Yeah. Yeah. The new next door neighbors, and he really wanted to make sure that she meant just because I live so close to her. But no.
No,
It was
in my
way
soul.
more than that.
Okay, Christina was born in Tucson, Arizona.
Or Tucson.
Oh, my bad. Sorry,
I don't see Joy
Tucson.
blush very much.
Am I blushing? Well, I am just really hot.
No, I was
my
gonna
sweater
say-
on.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
I am.
it's
I got
not.
hot.
It's
worked
not
up.
embarrassment.
No, see, I can just edit it
It's
out and no
fair.
one will know.
Exactly.
No,
That's
I'll
fair.
leave it in for all the other stupid people out there. I thought this was fascinating. I didn't know until I read this last night that you lived in a tent with your 3 siblings and parents in Hawaii in the 70s. And we could just spend the
Doesn't
entire
that actually
podcast talking
explain
about
more
that.
about Christina than anything else?
Okay.
I love
anything
that.
You really could.
Wow.
Graduated with a BA in English and a minor in education. She taught 5th through 12th grade right out of college. Married her husband Trailer in 1991. Survived a failed business or 2. Had 4 kids. Keenan and Larson, who are twins, they're both 26. Jane Maley is 21 and Beckham is 12. Which is also important to note because Ava is 12. So Jenny had her baby sister and her best friend pregnant at the same time. And that's definitely one of the things that I wanted to talk about too, with your experience finding out that you were pregnant. Because how old were you when you found out you were pregnant with Beckham?
40.
Yeah. And obviously not planned.
Well, bonus blessing, we like to say.
I'm still mad they didn't name him Beckham Trailer Woodall because it's like BTW would have been his.
By the way.
Right. Oh, by the way, one more.
Well, but it is Beckham Allen Woodall, so it's like, like
a guffaw.
Joke's on you.
That's kind of like Penny's. She's PET, so she's just like a little pet.
Yeah.
Since Ava's wanted a pet for so long, like, here it is. Mm-hmm. She does act like a cat a lot of the time. Okay, Jen, do you want to say anything about Christina?
About Christina, yeah. So I'll say things. What Christina's bio would be is obviously she's the mother of basically 3 different generations of kids, and so watching her. I was thinking about how the term gentle parenting is so popular now, and how if Christina was to coin a term, it would be creative parenting. Just how creative she is in every single aspect and facet of parenting and life. But also, she is probably the best cook. I don't think I've ever eaten any food better in any restaurant, anywhere. Like, she's an insane cook.
Oh.
And I really, I shouldn't tell you this because it's like one of those, why are you telling me this? But I had made homemade pasta.
Oh,
and
no.
And you didn't bring it.
And I was going to, but I didn't want to be running late, so I didn't. But my next thought, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yep.
But my next thought is, if life brings you to Franklin, pop in.
Yeah, I mean,
the only next thing better to having me bring it to you is maybe sitting in my kitchen with me.
It's just the best.
It's not a magical kitchen. It's just,
it's so amazing food.
Anyway, made homemade pasta with yummy marinara.
I don't even want to tell you guys. I'm sorry.
I don't even want to tell you. But when I leave, I'll be going home to have that.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
She is, I guess, kind of. Your kids either went to public school or you've homeschooled them. Various different
and then
time periods.
Beckham did private school for a while.
He did do private school. Okay,
he's the baby.
I was thinking, right. Saved up all the money for him. She is going to be most famously known for WanderPonder, which is basically mindfulness for kids, and she takes them on journeys through nature, teaching them not only about science but also about their emotional life, and it's truly, truly extraordinary. So, I can't remember if I did this just from knowing you or if it was a WanderPonder I went on with you. That I say she's Mr. Rogers meets Mary Poppins, leaning heavily on the Mary Poppins side. So that's my closest friend, Christina Woodall.
Well, welcome, Christina, to the Momcult Podcast.
Thank you. This has been kind of a long time dream of mine, so I'm really grateful.
Check this off your bucket list.
I know, right? I think it was on my vision board. I'm sure of it.
Oh, we're
little
honored.
Momcult logo. Someday.
Well, now you know what a shit show it is. Let it go.
She's like, I didn't think they wanted me there. I didn't know they were this disorganized.
Speaking of,
What? I get my own cozy?
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Wow.
look, I brought you one too.
Joy.
That is so fun. I could put a glass of milk in it.
Of course, only milk.
Right.
They're only milk koozies for the little jugs, the glass milk jugs. Well, what do we... There's so many different avenues. There's so many different things we could do. Do we want to focus on some of... do we want to focus on y'all's friendship? Do we want to focus first on Christina's experience having her kids up until the point that she met you?
What do you want? Whatever you want to know.
We let the conversation flow organically.
Okay, great. Just trying to, edge it along since
Because
we're 45
I made it.
minutes late.
Okay. Sorry, that's my bad. I want to. Well,
what do you want to hear?
I want to hear about WanderPonder, more about it, and how you got into that, and also about your family. And did that you living in a tent? Did that influence you being into mindfulness and that world of stuff, or is that completely unrelated?
Well, we know that none of life is unrelated. So
Stupid question, Sarah.
it's not not a stupid question.
Just let me degrade her, okay? It's part of it.
Yeah, that's part of the charm. It's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I forgot. Right. I gotta loosen up here. Words don't matter. We can cut each other down.
Yeah.
Totally.
I'm surrounded in a field of purple light. That doesn't affect me. I only let in what serves me.
Take me there. Please take me there.
You too can live in here.
I'm going. I'm staying, actually. I'm not
one's
leaving
mine.
today. No, darn.
Get your own purple.
Oh, see, that's my problem. That's my problem.
Okay. Those are a lot of questions.
What did your parents do? Like, how did you end up in living in a tent in Hawaii with your entire family? And how many siblings?
I have 4. I'm the youngest. So.
4 kids, 2 parents in a tent in Hawaii.
Sisters.
In one tent? Okay.
2 sisters and a brother. I will also say, I tell WanderPonder story. Like, my stories are circuitous, and they tend to have details. So I will do my best.
So buckle up, everybody.
That's right. Buckle up, Buttercup. But I'm like, I have a hard time telling quick stories.
Same? So I love that. Please go ahead.
Okay. So we were living in Tucson or Tucson.
Thank you.
However you want to call it.
Yeah, that's right.
Just to remind the people in case they forgot.
Right. Tucson, silent C. Anyway, all 4 kids. I was the youngest. I was also born at home in the 70s. My mom's doctor came and delivered me at home. The other sweet thing, I've always had a close relationship with my dad, and from the very beginning, after I was born and everyone was taking care of my mom, he noticed that I was just laying there not being cared for, and he picked me up and took me into the bathroom and washed me off. Aww. And so that's always been just, I love that story and that sense of his care for me from the beginning. Okay, so he was a realtor. He went to a real estate convention in in Hawaii from Tucson, came back and said to my mom, I think we need to move to Hawaii. And he was saying it kind of joking because they had a very well-established and were doing very well for themselves. Part of my sadness is that we then went on a journey of more connected to the earth living, and they let go of all those material things that I really
would have liked to experience.
I really would have just loved to decide for myself that I didn't want them. Anyway, so they sold, and my mom said yes. 4 kids. I was 2. My sister was 14. So she's 12 years older than I am. And then, anyway, so he was shocked because he was saying it mostly as a joke. But she had had a couple dreams and was just starting to learn that maybe there was a more spiritual element to life and that maybe dreams could be directional. She had dreamed that my dad died, and she got the sense that a big change needed to happen. And then my big sister, who's 14, said, Mom, I had a dream that Dad died. And so my mom's like,
we're moving to
Hawaii. So when he came back thinking that he was just joking about it, and she's like, let's do it. And so they did. And they sold everything. We have, and I still have one, which makes me so happy. We had 6 big blue travel trunks, and they sold everything except for each person got one travel trunk and then one for household goods. We flew to Hawaii. My dad bought a van, we just got there, landed, bought a car, and lived in a tent on the beach for a couple months. I know I may or may not be the odd girl out here, but have never smoked pot. And so when Trailer, now we've been married a long time, and he knows my background, I was like, wait, I smell marijuana. And he's like, honey, why do you even know what that smells like? And so talk about how all things are related. On a cellular level, little 2-year-old who was called Chrissy at the time learned on a cellular level the smell of marijuana. And so now as an adult, I'm like, I know that smell. And I was like, I lived on a beach in a
Makes so much
tent
sense.
in the 70s in Hawaii. I know that smell.
Yeah. What was the first time that you connected that? Like, how old were you?
I was an adult. Like, I was
Yeah.
married, and
Right.
I don't know where, at a park or a concert. I don't know where we were, but I
You
was
were
like,
like, oh, I know that.
smell Hawaii.
Is that like air freshener? That smells like the
used to live on a
beach.
tent in Hawaii?
yes.
My neighbors.
I could definitely
I feel
see
like
that.
I know you.
I feel so
Something-
connected to you. that what olfactory smell.
Did y'all then move what was the next step?
So a really cool thing. My dad helped the Native American people. He was a lawyer and he was in real estate law. And he went and helped legalize people's property lines,
Wow.
which was really beautiful because it was right before Hawaii started exploding, and there were not legal property. It was, I inherited this land. This is my family land.
But there's no paper.
There's nothing
in the legal system. Yeah.
And so my dad helped a
That's
lot
amazing.
of people legalize their property.
And also, Christina's parents are still alive.
They
And
are.
Say
My,
how old they
my
are.
dad is 94 and my mom is 89.
We got to get them on here.
I mean, they are so precious.
They are amazing.
So
they
special.
actually would. They have they would do a Zoom with you.
Yeah.
Like my dad set up in their little assisted living, he has his green background for doing filming and editing.
Oh.
And they had their own radio program. So Sarah, my dad could actually help you with your
extraordinary.
he'd been here.
I know he could have.
Well, I don't know.
So we lived there for 4 years. I learned how to swim at Harry K. Brown Beach, which is now covered under lava.
Wow.
It's really sweet. So, and it also is special because those are the only 4 years that our whole family was together and had memories together. When we moved back to the States, my
She
sister
was
went
gone,
to college and we all moved to Gainesville. She never lived in Gainesville, Florida. When we went back for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, and I was like, this is so deeply meaningful. And I realized this is the only space in the whole history of our family that we
all
shared
together.
and had in common together.
Yeah.
So it's a special place.
Dang.
And were your parents then hippies and
Yeah.
They're still hippies.
Totally.
and did you guys meditate together? And I mean, I'm making up a story. I don't know if that's okay. I don't know why I'm doing that.
you are welcome to. I'm happy to go along with
It's like the Simpsons version of the 70s family.
So what's interesting is in the 70s, there's also the Jesus movement. And so my parents found Jesus in Hawaii. And my mom, as I alluded to, they grew up very denominational, going to church was their social thing that they did. There wasn't a concept of I could have a personal relationship with Jesus. And so she was open and exploring and had gotten involved in what she calls the occult. So other divergent spiritual paths. They found Jesus. And that's a part of her story that makes me sad because she feels really upset that she led the family down a dark, evil path. And I'm like, Mom, you were exploring and you were searching. There's nothing wrong with that. And honestly, we might be more upset by your commitment to this one very clear path that you chose. Might have been more hurt there.
I think we're all starting to learn.
Exploration.
Yeah, maybe more options.
Anyway, so that was where they became a part of little, church community, and she put the big thumb down on some of those more exploratory expressions of spirituality.
I'm sorry. One more.
Yeah.
Can I ask what were the occult, or what was she calling the occult?
I was 2.
Don't know. Okay,
So
I don't know.
I just know that in general, it probably was some meditation and more, Eastern religion kind of
stuff
practices, but I don't.
We can cut that. I was just
There was,
interested.
there was the child sacrifice to the devil.
Yeah.
There was no children were harmed in the exploration of that spiritual journey.
Got it.
So WanderPonder, I think obviously those experiences can't not affect your way of moving through life. And so I think, of course, that had to have affected and planted a seed early on. I didn't know that seed was there. And in fact, really my journey to moving towards WanderPonder began with, I really grew up, meditation was bad and wrong. And so I was starting to get involved with groups that were talking about, let's open our group with a meditation. And I was like, this is so scary. And it was that, gentle, wait, why is it scary?
Is
What's
it really
scary about
Why do I
it?
think
Is
it's
it really
scary?
scary? And then I was like, oh my gosh, meditation is amazing. And there's nothing bad, scary, or wrong about it.
Right.
But that's really what started WanderPonder. It wasn't called WanderPonder, but at this time I'm now teaching as an assistant at a Montessori school. And I'm beginning to just blossom with this new connection through meditation. And I asked the lead teacher, could I do some kind of morning meditation with the kids? And she's like, I've always wanted that. That would be amazing. Yes. So I just started doing that, and I called it our inner space time because I knew I had a weird connection to meditation.
Right,
and
the word
also,
itself.
Even if the kids didn't, because they probably most of them didn't, but even if they didn't, I thought from a kid's mind, meditate, what does it even mean? So I was like, what is a word that I could use that helps them tangibly connect to what this moment is? And so that's what we called it, our inner space time. And we talked about what is your inner space and what's in your inner space. And then I eventually started doing outer space time. And I was like, it's not like outer space. I was like, what is in your outer space? And so we would touch the things in my classmates are in my outer space. My materials in the classroom. The classroom is my outer space. And so we would do inner space and outer space time. And then I just one day was like, the lead teacher said I want to take kids on walks once a week. And I was like, let's call them WanderPonders. And it was just, and so the kids would say, Miss Christina, are we going on a WanderPonder this week? They loved it. It was gorgeous and beautiful. I loved it. So really, I incubated the concept of WanderPonder those 2 years. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but really that's what I was doing. And so it came time, family demands, I needed to not work full-time at the Montessori school. And my parents were getting older, and I just had a few times where they needed me, and I couldn't get to them. And I just thought, you know what, in this season, I need to let that go. But it was in COVID, and I was I was literally, my heart was exploding. There were so many mindfulness classes, and I loved Goldie Hawn's, all of her work with Mind Up.
Yes.
And so I was watching her free offerings, which I had the book, and that was another little early seed for WanderPonder, was learning about Mind Up in the classroom. And I was like, what is this? So I was watching things, and I just I have so much I want to give. My heart, my chest hurts. And what can I do? And so that's when I thought, well, at the same time, I just cried out, what do I do? Show me how to offer what is, bursting inside of me. And at the same time, a parent reached out and said, our daughter's not doing well in COVID. She's really failing to thrive, and she had such a good connection with you. Would you be willing to meet with her? And I was like, I was nervous. I'm like, I don't know. And I was like, Christina, you just
literally
cried
asked
out.
for this. Take it.
So don't you dare say no. And so I was like, oh, yes, I would love to meet with her, and let's explore what this would look like. And so that was going well within.
Okay, wait, we have to pause here because this is one of my favorite stories. You have it recorded somewhere, but what was the words? The words, Miss Christina.
They're just because we were talking about present tense.
Present tense. Oh my gosh,
Versus
I use this
past
all
tense.
the
Yes.
time.
Yeah,
So Christina's walking her through her amazing process. Don't do that right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to. We're under a tree in her
present
neighborhood.
tense versus past tense, right? And just in future tense. So she's explaining it to her, and you're hearing. She has her little voice recording, and you're hearing her, and she goes, "Present tense, Miss Christina, it's the words coming out of my mouth right now. This is present tense."
Why is that going to make me cry?
I know, it's the most extraordinary thing. So I'll, when it comes to, I'll do that in conversation all the time. It's like, it's right now. It's coming out of my mouth.
So cute.
And for reference point, this is 6-7-year-old age group that you're working with.
Yeah, I think she was 7 or 8 at the time.
And
but-
just watching this little girl not want to get out of bed, her depression was so high, her anxiety was so high. And this has happened with several kids since then, because I would get a lot of calls of, hey, my kid's not okay. What do you recommend? Well, I'm at this point in time, I'm overseeing therapists who are seeing kids and they're not getting better. And the therapists are like, what we've learned in child psychology is not working. And I was like, yeah, because what Christina's doing will work. And so I would say, hey, I know she's not a therapist, but I promise you, your kid's going to get results. And so watching just what happened to that one little girl was she just came back to life. She completely came back to life. Yeah.
Is there a simplified kind of curriculum? Do you cater it to each child? Do you kind of have we're going to start here and move to this and then...
Those are some end goals, some long-term goals. I am a very organic, the words that come out of my mouth right now. I am a very present tense person. So right now, WanderPonder is curated and catered to a child or a small group of children. And because I mostly try to be outside, I weave in what's happening right now in nature. And my motto that I teach with the kids is nature is our teacher, so we can learn more about our own nature.
And when you'd think, okay, we're going to learn about a flower, the parts of a flower. We're going to learn about our feelings. But she will teach people spelling. And like I said, present tense versus past tense. She'll teach things that you're like, that's the best education anyone could get.
Like weaving it in with nature and the natural world and that kind of stuff.
So it's just this whole, when I look back at what a child, and I do adults now, because so many adults, when I would tell them, would say, I want to WanderPonder with you. And I said no to that a long time. And then I have now had several WanderPonders with adults, and they've been friends. 2 women have gotten together. And it's so beautiful. And we're all looking for something different to do other than just, going to cocktail hour and talking. And so the conversation that these friends had that was facilitated in this WanderPonder setting is beautiful. But all that to say, with the kids, I think because of my teaching background and my own voracious curiosity, it's just a beautiful match made in heaven that I think the trailer, my husband says, Christina, you always see 1,000 points of light. And that's a beautiful explanation for ADD. But so I appreciate that.
You're a prism.
But, yes. But because of that, I really can, in the moment,
have
ideas that come to me, and I like can just pull them all together, and like as if fireflies are in a jar. It's like just all of these beautiful, from academic to feelings to emotions to science to language, and then they're in their body, and I've just loved learning about the brain and about the nervous system, and so it's just all of that comes together into one.
Yeah. So the
WanderPonder
experience
package.
is you, and it's a unique experience every time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So the other thing that I just think is beautiful, especially in the age of kids being so busy and rushed and short attention span, I usually don't do a WanderPonder shorter than 2 hours. And like watching them settle in to that pace and that permission to be curious and to flow with that has been a really special thing. And when I get a few kids who are a little more like, Miss Christina, like,
what's next?
What are we doing? Where are we going? What's next? I'm like, oh, you're wondering what's next. What are we doing right now? But where are we going to? I'm like, remember, in WanderPonder, we're not trying to get somewhere. We're trying to be somewhere. And they're like, oh, right.
And then you pass around the joint.
Well, I will say, since you brought up joint, my older kids are like, Mom just really doesn't even need pot. She kind of like lives her life as though she
The 2-year-old fumes are just got into your system.
Cellular level.
I just access them on a cellular level.
I also love how you can so appreciate how much her kids maybe have not always appreciated this aspect, of their mom, and like that any other kid that gets to experience it feels like they've just won the lottery. So I'm on your behalf so thankful other kids get to experience you, because everybody and their own kids are like, are you serious? We're going to slow down again.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Do you ever do parents with their kids?
I haven't. Well, no, I did, but it was not like organized that way. But I would like to try. So I'll offer that to
sample.
You can be my sample
guinea
case.
pigs.
Yeah. The one thing that I will. So yes, I actually did do. I take that back. I did a grandma, a mom, and a son, grandson. Yeah, that was really sweet. What I want to do a better job of is figuring out how to help the mom let me guide and not. And that was the only challenge I had, was when she was like, stop and don't. And I'm like, if you could let me. I'm very capable at helping redirect a child if they need it. And I don't want you to think I'm judging you because your kid's being squirrely. And they tend to be more squirrely when they're with their parents anyway. Yeah, it's a tricky. So I think it's a beautiful experiment and experience, as long as a few little things
and I would say you kind of have to have that experience before the next. Now things to say and ways to set it up.
Guidelines
prep for that.
Yeah, ahead of time, telling here's the things you tell the parents. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about this. When you feel this way, try this. And guiding, you're like guiding them just as much as you're guiding.
Well, and that is what I love, because I always follow up with notes and sharing with the parent. And so I often find myself in a situation where I'm hopeful that by sharing that experience, it's giving parents some tools that they didn't have before.
Do you go to a different location every time?
I either meet at a park, or I really love to meet at people's homes, like in their backyard or a park nearby. One reason why I love that is I want kids to have that connection that, wow, like magic and curiosity and wonder and exploration is right here. I don't have to go somewhere to find it. So to give that gift to a child in their own backyard makes me really happy. Yeah. So, and then it's fun to go like, let's change it up and meet at a park. Right. But I love that foundation of like, I'm in my home. And then I love it for parents because you're getting 2 hours where you can be home. Like you're not having to drive them somewhere, drop them off, and then sit in the car waiting or that kind of thing. So I also love it from that standpoint.
Well, speaking of in your own backyard, let's talk about it, y'all. mom's backyard.
Yeah,
I love that transition.
That's really good. That's
Thank
really
you.
Joy.
Sarah,
Parker started using a booster seat.
big
And-
moves.
Yeah, and his legs sit slanted down, so I put this breakfast box with his eggs and like Cheerios and stuff in it in his lap on the way to school, which is teaching him terrible habits. But I digress. It spilled on the floor, and I tried to clean it up with my at-home like handheld vacuum, and I was just like, I was never a person before we both worked at Camel Express in marketing department. I was never a person who washed my car, and I didn't understand really the value of it. But the vacuums at Camel Express are bananas.
I mean,
and really,
for car seat grossness.
yeah.
And like when you take the car seat off and move it and all the stuff underneath and inside.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
At each of the vacuum bays, we have glass cleaner infused microfiber towels that you can wipe up that stuff that is underneath the seat.
Or inside the cup holder.
Right. And in about, I don't know, in 2.5 minutes you can go through the whole wash. And then in 5 minutes, because of the power of the vacuums at any of the 5 locations in and around Nashville, you can really like clean your whole car to the level that I'm accustomed. I see some people there like really doing it.
Oh, yeah.
But
It's like their thing.
yeah. And I get that. I support it. Good job. So if you, Momcult listener, would like to get your first wash at Camel Express for free, just text code MOMCULT to 22322.
So I was, goodness, it was so long ago.
How old were you?
So I only know my age backwards. So Brandon was.
Well, Avery
not-
was just born.
Yeah, she was 6 months old. Brandon had just turned 2. So how old was I? I can't remember. 25. I was 25. And I was deeply, deeply depressed. Deeply depressed. Like, everybody could call it postpartum, but I would say not having a car and not having any money and having 2 babies
God.
is pretty damn depressing. But I really was going under. And I'm trying to remember how it started. I was going to have a garage sale.
First, let's go back
ahead.
to when I moved in. You were not home. You were traveling, vacationing with your
We were
family.
in Montana.
Oh.
And I looked over into this backyard with tons of toys in the backyard, and I thought, does the family next door run a daycare?
Right.
Like,
What's the story here?
What's the story here?
Boys, her twins were 3, so she thinks,
was it. I moved with-
that's all she had. She
Yeah.
had,
That's enough.
right, really, no kidding. And I remember them being out playing in the front yard, raking leaves. Y'all were raking leaves, and I was like, oh no, we have to go back. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, so
I see what's happening.
Jen was so depressed. I woke up every single day, took my kids out on a stroller ride every morning. That's how I started the day. I had 7 houses for sale on my street. And I would walk by the houses and I would pray, dear Lord, please send me a friend. Like, please send me a friend. I need a friend. And every house I passed, I was like, you got 7 chances. That one. Okay, they can move there. They can move there. They can move there. They can move there. And then...
But 661 was the magic.
Which was actually the one right next to... I hadn't even prayed for that one because it had renters in it who just moved out. So there she appears with her 2 little 3-year-olds, and they're out raking their yard. And I remember going over there and being like, hi. So this is why you can imagine I was anticipating my closest friend.
Bigger backstory. See,
keep going.
There's just so much backstory. But we are desperately trying to find a place to move into. We're living in an apartment. Need to move into a house, trying to find a rental. And I'm so discouraged. There's so many parts of town. Like, where do you even look? How do you even start? And I was looking. And one day, driving down a street looking for houses with rent signs, I was just like, I'm so overwhelmed and so discouraged. And I heard, it's not where you live, it's who you live next to.
Like from the sky?
Yeah. Well, it was really more from inside.
Right.
Inner
right.
space.
Inner
Inner
space,
space.
voice. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wonderful.
A place to start. Let me just go and stare at these people in their homes. That's how I'll find it.
Anyway, but that gives you a picture of
Yeah.
me. Like, that was like, oh, great. There we go. It's who I live next to. Which, to give a picture of my husband, when I shared that with him, he was like, Christina, like, it's whoever you live next to is who you're supposed to be next to. So he didn't quite have the same open receptivity
Wow.
to the word from the sky and the word from within.
He didn't have the tent thing.
He didn't live in a tent. So
Trailer, though.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He was a trailer, but lived in a trailer. So that was like, oh, like all the stress.
What a
left.
weight off my back.
Right.
So,
So I go over, introduce
but
myself.
I forgot about that. I go on a big trip. We come back. Trailer has actually found the house. So little does he know, he was an instrument
Right.
in putting me next to the person I was supposed to be.
Well,
next
and to give a reference point in history, I was planning on having a garage sale that weekend, had met her and said, do you want to pitch in stuff to the garage sale? We'll have a garage sale together. And we had to cancel it because it was September 11th.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy? So that is
Yeah.
the beginning of our relationship was September 11th,
That's wild.
isn't it?
So I forgot that magical word that came from the sky and from within. We've now met.
And that day
Yeah.
that we were out there visiting, she's like, we used to live like close to some people and we would like do dinners together. And I was like, well, that's
Pool our resources
Yeah, pool our resources
together.
dinner. And I was like, well, guess what? I have meat and I don't have anything else because mom and dad were so worried about me. Dad's masculine solution is buy her a freezer and stack it full of meat.
Which
That was the answer to every postpartum dilemma.
The girl needed some iron.
we were collectively very grateful.
Yes, because you also were very poor.
Yeah.
And she was like, you have meat. He wasn't wrong.
Succulent meats.
So the apocalypse comes, come to my house. I got meat.
Christmas Carol. The prize turkey.
So I was like, I have meat. And she's like, I've got side dishes. And she's like, they're much cheaper.
I've got beans. All I have is beans.
It's so true. But that also is very indicative.
It is the story of our
the
relationship.
trajectory of
It is
our
the story of our relationship.
Yeah.
So she's like, you bring the meat, I'll bring the side dishes, y'all come over. So Adam, gets home from work and I'm like, we're going over for dinner at Christina's
He's like,
house.
"What?
We're bringing the meat. And he's like, what? Why? And so we get over there, we're pooling our resources and eating something delicious, which I know I told you Christina is a good cook and she is. But also even something more magical happens when we get to make stuff together. For me anyway, because I'm making with Christina. And no, I will say I am a very, very, very good cook.
Yes.
It's because of Christina. I now have how many years has it been? However old Avery is.
Oh, it's
So
like
23
years.
I have 23 years of insane cooking lessons. That's pretty impressive. And so we're over there eating dinner and I'm putting together like, oh my God, I've been walking the neighborhood. I've been praying over 7 houses.
It's her. We're here.
You. It's you. And at that moment, she remembers, I heard it.
And she says, it's you, Christina. I was like, what? And so she tells her side of the story. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot. And I was like, you're the one that I was supposed to live next to.
Were you guys crying?
I don't know. We were so damn tired, you guys.
so tired.
We were so damn tired.
Too much
Twin
meat.
3-year-olds, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. That was our reality. So we weren't even seeing clearly, The fact that we could recall these thoughts was about as impressive as it
Yeah,
could be.
none of this really happened. It was a hallucination, by the way.
Dipped into my cells. And then we started neither of us could afford Mother's Day out or
Right.
preschool. So I was like, hey, do you want to take one day? I'll take one day. And let's give each other
So we both
a break.
had 4 kids 1 day a week, and we both had a day off 1 day a week. And we actually created a little curriculum for them. And I mean, I became a much, much, much more fun. I mean, as soon as you add more kids to the story,
yeah.
you got to get organized and you
Yep.
got to be the grown up.
You got to
and
impress the other
whatever.
kids.
Exactly, which was very difficult with Keenan in
I was gonna
particular.
say,
Keenan would just look at me and be like, "You are not my mom. Like, stop talking to me." There's so many amazing things about them.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, for me, because that was before both of us had taught. She taught at a small private school before kids. I taught. I mean, we both had teaching deep in our backgrounds, but I don't think either one of us had taught that age group before. So we were raising that age group, but not really equipped to do it, which is how it feels most of being a mom. And so it was really neat to be like, hey, this isn't my natural age group that I would be gravitated to, but I've got to teach them. And we had a baby to, I would say Brandon, Keenan, and Larson really tracked. We could kind of teach the three of them all the same thing. Had to make little modifications for Avery, which one of my very favorites is Christina doing Play-Doh with all four of them at the table. I mean, Avery was so little, doing things nobody else would be doing school stuff at that age. And so the boys were all making their things and smashing them and, whatever.
Mushing all the colors
you
together
associate
to one
with
big
Play-Doh,
color.
right? And Avery just had a blob rocking it and kissing on it and singing it.
And that's a perfect illustration of the difference.
Right. Right.
And I'm remembering that you did alphabet. When we had decided, let's division of labor. You'll cover alphabet and numbers.
A through P.
No.
And she did themes.
And I did seasons and holidays and themes.
Nice.
So fun. So we did, I think both of us, I think, we've talked about this a lot. While motherhood is the hardest job in the world, it's also the most boring job in the world, which is a weird combination, right? And the most important.
That's why it's so confusing internally.
Right.
I think for moms, they're going, how am I overstimulated and completely understimulated at the exact same time?
Yes. And so that way we got to become better, and we were becoming better for our kids at the same time. And then what we learned during that time, I mean, WanderPonder exists because of that time. Everything I do with media trauma exists because of that time. I mean, it was so, and then remember, we're also getting our first break. So we have 1 day a week we can go do or be anything else. So it was an incredibly rich thing. And I remember Mom telling Aunt Janet, like, how's Jenny doing? Because I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't doing well. And my mom was like, she's good. She has a friend now. And everyone had this, like, Jenny's friend has saved her life. Like, it was just this understanding. And it wasn't even weird. It was like, oh, that's what friends.
Just fact.
Yeah, it was just like, you can save somebody's life by living next door and by being a neighbor. And that's a lost art.
You have to share about you not knowing that Brandon had gotten up.
Obviously, Brandon was obsessed with Keenan and Larson. He couldn't even say their names. They were Key Larson. And obsessed. Like he was always up so early and so energetic. And it's like, see Key Larson? Where's Key Larson? Go to Key Larson. Key Larson coming over. And that was what the first 2 or 3 hours of our day was every single day. And this one particular morning, I woke up before him. And Avery woke up before him, and the house was peaceful and quiet. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're having a peaceful, quiet morning. It's so
Maybe
wonderful.
he has a fever, but it's okay.
Let him sleep it off.
So, of course, which is so funny to imagine Christina and I on landlines talking every day, all day, when we weren't actually together. When she was in her house and I was in my house, we were talking on the landline. And I was like, Christina, you are not going to believe this, but Brandon is still asleep. And she goes, are you sure? And I was like, what? Don't go into his room. He's not
there.
He'd woken up early and gotten out the door, walked across the little path in his diaper at her front door. And she was like, yep, he had breakfast with us.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Joy.
Do you have trouble meal planning? Is that a struggle for you?
What?
What's that?
Huh? I do have this. Yeah, no. Yes, I do have that. I have that issue.
Me too. Especially there's like always a one night where we do Blue Apron, but there's always a couple nights a week where we don't have a meal planned.
And it's usually a night where we're all trying to eat something together that is affordable and good quality food. And what's a really great solution for that we have for all of you listeners out there?
What?
Is Mr. Aaron's Goods.
Oh, yeah.
And we have an update about Mr. Aaron's, which is that instead of just walking in and picking up your food or getting it delivered, you can actually go in and dine there now. They have new hours. They're open Tuesday through Sunday. You can have fresh pasta, sauces, bagels, schmears, all the specialty goods. They're located at TKO in East Nashville. And they're open 9 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Weekdays. And then on the weekends, 9 a.m. to noon or until they sell out.
Yeah.
You can also still order online. And if you do that, you can use code Momcult for 20% off your entire order.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the best people.
Yeah. They're amazing. Give them your money and they will give you your sustenance.
So,
How was, talk about your experience finding out that you were pregnant. Is this 12 years? How old is Jane Maley? Or was she more
she's
like 9?
21, so she was 9.
Okay.
Yeah. And just a quick deviation, because that's what I do. We had struggled to get pregnant with Keenan and Larson. A year and a half, which I did learn is more normal,
Right.
but at the time I didn't know that, and I was like, get pregnant with them.
Did twins
That's a
run
whole-
in either of your families?
Like great aunts were twins.
Okay, but it was definitely not on your radar.
my radar.
Yeah.
No. So that's a really cool story. We'll save for another time. And then, so now we're like, the boys are getting a little older.
They were
think
5,
we
I
would
think.
like to. They were 5. We're like, we would like to have another baby. But because I had a little bit of a hard time, I had always said to myself, like, I'm not going to be the person
Right.
that assumes I'll have more. I'm going to totally love and be
Yeah.
grateful.
If it happens,
Yeah.
it happens.
Nor was she stressed when they started trying.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, we're trying, but it wasn't
Also,
like
I've got plenty going
Right,
on. So I will also.
It was never a day you were like,
No.
things are just a bit too easy these days.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm bored. But so that was just fun. Like we had Jane Maley in that. Like
Time.
Adam and Jenny walked alongside with us
Yeah.
in that.
Finding out she
And
got pregnant, finding
that
out it was
sweet.
a girl.
Yeah.
And then Avery,
yeah.
Avery was 3 when Jane Maley was born. So
Okay.
imagine, and just, of course, obsessed. There's a baby inside, Miss Christina, and the little...
Well, and she's finally getting, Brandon's had the boys this whole
Yes,
time, so
she's
she's
gonna
finally
get
getting her
girl.
buddy. Yeah.
She's going to get a girl, and she would just sit there and she'd go, Miss Christina, Jane Maley, October, Jane Maley, in October.
So sweet. So, okay, now we'll fast forward to the finding out of
Well,
Beckham.
real quick, we had, thankfully, this is like your, all the other stories, like, thankfully, we had, our 2 families had finally gotten to the place financially and with enough, everybody was okay. We took a big trip out to Montana, our 2 families with our 5 kids, and it was just the perfect age. The only I do really want to, we'll just say this now because
Yeah,
it's
there's-
so important.
You don't have to skip over anything you don't want to.
The only regrets we all have about that trip. So the boys were like 13, 14. Jamie was maybe
they were more like 11, 12,
okay. Well, how old were they when Beckham was born?
14.
Okay,
So that's why I'm saying
it was like just a couple of years before that. Yeah, so they were 12. Anyway, so 12 and down. So and we, as y'all could probably guess, Christina and I were both very strict with screen time. And I think most of their growing up was like, you get an hour a day. You want to watch TV, you want to play a video game, whatever. You get your hour a day. And then if we're all doing something as a family or whatever, you could have more. And but our boys were obsessed with video games during that time. And it was a fun vacation in Montana. And so we were really lax with our rules because it was kind of like, this is our vacation because
Shouldn't have
it's
been.
really hard for us to maintain these boundaries too. We thought we were having
want to be on vacation
too.
as well.
The boys' biggest regret is that we didn't. We should have said no video games this whole trip because they cannot stand that they were in Montana with all their friends and were playing video games. And so that was, and I would say all of them will say their favorite thing about their childhood and their life was the thing they hated the most, which was our screen rules. And they're like, if anything, we wish they would have been stricter, which is crazy.
And then, but just knowing the beauty of that is like, that gets to be they're like, the fact that they can be bummed that happened is such a beautiful gift to them, even though we would have preferred that they played and explored and enjoyed the great outdoors of Montana.
Yeah, they made the connection. Oh, this is why. This is why those rules are there. This is why, whatever. So all that to say, I'm just so thankful. I know you're so thankful for many, many reasons, right? Like, even, obviously you had a surprise baby, but my family isn't even that family anymore. And so just being so thankful that we got to capture that time and that moment. So it's about a year later. But of course, Christina and I are thinking, this is our future. This is what we're doing. We're traveling together as families, or this is it, and then the kids are going to leave home, and Adam, Jenny, and Christina and Trailer are going to travel all over the world together. And
then maybe not. One fun little other deviation is, I wanted to say, I started a home cooking business, and I thought the reason why it's extra fun is because it was really inspired out of helping Jenny, who had gone back to work.
Forgot about that.
And she was so overwhelmed and
like meal prep.
Working so hard that I would say, hey, I'm going to the store. I'm making this. Can you, if you cover the cost of the ingredients, I'll just make extra for you. And then, somebody tasted something I made, and they're like, Christina, you should sell this. And
so I was working at a Montessori school at the time, and that became everybody worked at the Montessori, and they were all moms, had to go home and make dinner.
So they were my first client, was all the Montessori teachers.
There was no such thing as Blue Apron or Home Chef. There was no such thing
that I'm proud of and feel regret that I really was ahead of the curve on that. People were not doing that. Right. And people would say, talk to me about your business model and how did you come up with that? I'm like,
pure
okay,
need.
Well, I didn't even know that it had a business model, Right. So again, I didn't continue it because, one, I had such a hard time keeping my house organized anyway, that then to bring a business into my home that created even more mess. But one of my favorite sweet quotes from Keenan, he's getting a lot of play. We need to.
There's another twin.
Wrap it up.
There is another, right. We need the last one for Keenan. Anyway, he looked at me and he's like, Mama, what's going to happen to us when you become famous? And I was like,
someone believes in.
But yeah, so I started the Green Apron, and it was to, so it was to.
You
but
really stole it.
Yeah.
Oh,
They just changed the color.
No, I know, isn't that crazy? But I named it that because
She actually had a green apron.
Right.
I didn't spend a lot of money on anything, and on one of my birthdays in some special kitchen shop in Belmead, I found this green apron that I just felt like I had arrived, and it was on major clearance, and it was still, but I bought it from a Belmead shop, and it was
that's a big deal.
Special.
It's pretty beautiful.
I still don't know if
apron.
I've ever done that.
Yeah.
Bought something from a Belmead shop.
Exactly. They're intimidating.
So that I was like, what would I name it? And I was like, well, I've got a green apron. So I hand painted all my business cards and wrote the Green Apron Home Cooking by Christina.
So delicious.
Anyway, so that was fun. But it was something I did for a season, and I loved it. And I also was an early blogger and didn't know. I had an email list, and I would write up stories of people's experiences with the food, and that was then how I introduced what the next
meal
set of menus were going to be, and people would place their order, so I wasn't cooking.
You're just getting, you're kind of finding your stride.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And
then now I had long stopped Green Apron because
Gotcha.
of the mess, and I just couldn't do it, and I didn't know what to do when I became famous.
Yeah,
I really
right,
couldn't
exactly.
answer.
Yeah, she was like, I don't know.
question.
Do I really want the issue of fame?
Yeah. So I did substitute teach for a long time, which I adored. I say substitute teaching is to teaching as grandparenting is to parenting. Yeah. So I got to show up, I got to be amazing and a relief and a reprieve to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I am about to turn 40. Prior to this day it was my birthday, and I had not get out of my head this vision of me telling people that I was pregnant. And people would say, was this planned? And I'd say, no, it's better than the plan. So, like, I wanted to hit my head on a wall. Like, I'm out in the yard, like
you just kept
working
thinking
and
about it?
gardening, and it kept like
And
on
also,
a loop.
are you
would
telling them
not
about your
stop.
40th birthday? Because
That was no, I wasn't going to, but you can. That was the same day that loop happened.
So she's, I guess Trailer's trying to throw her this 40th birthday.
Yes.
And I don't even remember what happened, but it basically all went as wrong as it could go.
And it was just Trailer trying to do something that he's not great at, which is
We've all been married.
throw
I'm there
a
today.
party for me. And I was like, the place he picked, I was like, no, that sounds good. And then, like, it wasn't going to have any. It was just going to be people show up at this fairly lame restaurant.
No vibe.
Yeah.
So she's dealing with what the idea of her 40th is going to be compared to, and also she is an insane party planner and thrower.
Right.
So she makes like dreams come true for Trailer and the kids on their birthdays, like nobody's business. And so it's also sort of like, this is what it means to be a mom. Okay. Happy birthday, Christina.
And did you know yet that she'd been having this thought on loop?
No, no, she didn't. I don't think you told any. If you didn't tell me, I don't think you told anybody. I don't think
No,
she
I
liked
didn't.
this. She was like, well, what happened is, so when her birthday party, and she's like kind of reporting to me, here's what's going to end up happening. Here's what we're doing. She thinks that is all about her birthday party. So she's thinking, oh, my mind is pretending this is about like having a baby.
And
but
I'm turning
really,
40.
Yeah.
So I'm having this.
midlife.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah.
So she's thinking, oh, that's what this is about. The plan is actually going to be better than what my plan. I had this plan of what my party was going to be, and this is what the plan is going to be. So she's kind
Or
of putting
when
it.
plans are disappointing, or like just being able to let go of that and say, I'm going to live better than the plan, and know that maybe something different is going to happen than I could have even planned for.
Right.
So that was a little bit of the like, oh. And so that's why I said I have a new life paradigm. I'm living life better than the plan. So
all during that time, I'm finding out you're pregnant with Ava. I'm like, over the moon that this is like how it's supposed to happen. It's your baby sister who's supposed to have a new baby. And, just that's all so fun and so new in our relationship. And so that was happening. And then you can take us to Austin.
okay. Prior to Austin, though, so I will.
Don't take us to Austin yet.
Not yet. Oh, no, you only thought you were going to Austin. First, you're going to my kitchen back at 661.
Is this still like on your birthday?
No, I'm going
She's
back.
like
It's
time
flashback.
traveling.
Yeah,
Okay.
like,
This is back
picture
to being my
it's
next
now
door
black.
neighbor.
It's now in black and white because we're. Anyway, because it has to do with the present day story. Past tense. Is Larson. Okay.
There he is.
Larson.
Hey, Larson.
Hi,
Welcome to the
Larson.
podcast, Larson. The forgotten twin.
I'm so glad you're here.
Did he come out first or second?
First.
Dang.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, he'd say, thanks, Mom. Yeah, I am here.
That's my favorite thing is her Larson voice. I just bring it out sometime for fun.
So we're standing in the kitchen, and he says, Mama, when we are 5, the baby will come. And I was like, okay, thanks, honey. Like, so then in hindsight, I was like, oh my gosh, they were 5.5 when Jane Maley was born. So that was amazing. They both wanted, at one point, twins, like we want our own baby. And so I was explaining to them that really one baby is enough. I know as twins, you always want your own thing of everything, but I promise you one baby will be more than enough. And that was also when I coined the tiny baby tunnel, because we did not use biologically
Was not in those
accurate
days.
terms. So it was the tiny baby tunnel. Anyway,
So tiny.
that got a little less tiny. Anyway, so now fast forward. I just thought that was amazing that then Keenan, sorry, Larson,
back.
I'll try to back to Keenan. He is now a fairly angry teenager. And we're going through a lot with him. Side point, Jenny says, Christina, when people say that parenting is hard, it is. This is not the hard that they're referring to. And that was such a important message for me to hear, because I'm so like, it's just hard. And she's like, no,
this is a different.
No, this is a different hard.
Yeah.
So anyway, so in the season of that, Trailer's description is we had a candle that was like cooking. It was lit and it was cooking through, and then we find out we're pregnant and we just lit the other end, and it was like, But all that to say, Keenan said one point in the kitchen, Mom, I've always wondered what it would be like to have a baby brother. I was like, what? Like, how much you all are. I know. I've just always wondered what it would be like. So I was like, okay, well, that's
Noted.
Cool. Noted.
I mean, she even went through, I remember this conversation because she even went through like, do you realize how hard our life is now? Like the mess our house is, how much it costs to feed everybody, getting everybody. We barely can get everyone to where they're supposed to go. Like, and at this point in time, we were just laughing. We're like, can you imagine just throwing a baby into that? We're just like, ugh.
So I forget that. Totally forget that. I've now had this like better than the plan, which I have forgotten because I'm now fully 40. I decided to start doing piggy tails all the time. That was my new look. And
She's fine.
So we are now going to be going to Austin, but I'm late starting my period. And this is also a fun moment where Jenny enters the story, because Jenny one time was like, Christina, I'm 9 days late starting my period. But, she did. So like I wasn't even considering it until it was past 9 days, because Jenny said 9 days.
Jenny said.
You hold on to whatever you can during this time.
But in the midst of that, another Sky and Inner Voice message happened in my bathroom, and I was like, it's not starting, but it hadn't been 9 days, so I wasn't going to waste money on a pregnancy test until we were past 9 days.
$28.
No kidding.
So I'm walking into the bathroom, and I hear, Christina, I know, and I promise you it will be okay. I'm like, what
are we referencing?
What do we know?
What do we know? And I knew that they were saying, the voice was saying that I was pregnant, but I didn't know.
Right, you're not letting yourself acknowledge it.
I didn't know that you knew. Right. We knew.
That's right. Wait, who knows? So I hear that, and the next thing I hear is, it is your choice. But I really need this baby to be born. I'm like, well, one.
Does that mean you could pick someone else? Or you're just running it by me first?
Like, why do we
Pass the buck down to someone else?
Duck.
What does that make you feel, Sarah, when you hear that compared to your story with Frank?
So the psychic that I saw said that there's a little, like he said, you're not going to have more kids. And I was like, wait, what? Because at that time, especially, we were like, definitely we're going to have another kid. And he said that there's a little girl and she's on the other side. And if we want to have her, that's great. And if we don't, then she's completely fine. And I think he specifically said she's like Punky Brewster-esque, which is like exactly like me when I was like in second grade. So my therapist was like, well, maybe it's you and you're like your inner child. Maybe it's not. Maybe he just like, anyway, the point is, the question was, what does that make me feel? Nothing.
I'm dead to it.
Not, and I guess not anything about myself, which is shocking. I'm just interested in how long you've been hearing voices. I mean, how long you've been getting messaging like that. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
But I just, the fact that it was like, it's your, I don't know, that part was just making me think of when you, as a mom, when you are debating if you're going to have more kids or not, and this kind of odd responsibility, potential responsibility. Maybe it kind of feels like pressure, but just like, do I choose to open myself to providing new life again or not? And like, what a massive responsibility that is.
Well, I mean, just even that whole concept of trying to have kids is like, do I get to say?
Right.
Do I get to say? If like all of a sudden a life is here? And I think what's interesting is more this year than ever in my life have I understood the mind-body connection. Like it's something that we all say, you know, like, oh, your mind and your body and your heart it's the same thing. But when I got really sick this past year, what I was going through emotionally, it was not a metaphor. Like it was at my body, my mind and my heart were going through the exact same thing. And so it makes you wonder in terms of being the house of human life, right? Mm. What does it mean and what does it take? What all's in the works, right? Because you've got a sperm and an egg. You have lots of ways that science can intervene now and make that happen. And so what kinds of agreements, what part of our psychological and emotional agreement makes a pregnancy happen? Mm-hmm. You know, like, what does it mean? Like, if we, do we have this power, which, I mean, this is to me completely untalked about. Like, we don't talk about this at all. With every pregnancy that happens, is there some sort of deep agreement that we had with that, whatever else happens?
Well, one of the big, huge, I feel like if you have had multiple miscarriages or you can't get pregnant, I feel like one of the first things they say is like, try not to think about it. Try not to be stressed. Like that clearly our brain can have an impact
participating
on what our body is willing or ready or whatever to do. But like, yeah, to what extent? Because then there's people that probably actively don't want children.
Exactly.
Too, so
it's a true mystery.
Anyway, so you in the bathroom and you
I
heard
that, and I was like, okay, that feels kind of like a trick question because you tell me it's my choice, but then you say you really need this baby to be born. I was like, I'm kind of thinking that it's a little bit like you've kind of done a little number on me. So I just said, I was like, but you know, so I just said, I am like, if what I knew was I had the sense that I could hope that I wasn't pregnant. And if I did that, I would, day 9, start my period. And my story would have been, gosh, for a while there, I thought maybe I was, but I wasn't. So I just had that sense that I could continue to hope that I'm not, or I could just say, okay, if I am, okay. And that was what I said.
Did you kind of come to that pretty quickly? Or is this like a couple of days?
No, it was in that moment. I knew I had that sense that was like, if you're saying you need this baby to be born. It seems like
bigger than me, possibly.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, I hope I'm not pregnant. So we were then going to Austin, taking Jane Maley for a little special. Here she is, the little sister of very, intense, needy twins. And so we're taking her on a little special mom, dad, Jane Maley, Austin trip. Trailer, who, gosh, is he amazing. But he really is not ever clued into my cycle.
Right.
And he's like, as we're packing, he's like, so you're taking all your stuff, because you'll probably start your period while we're in Austin. And I'm like, what? Like, when have you ever all these years have you been clued in and wanted to make sure I packed my supplies? So I was like, yeah. No, I did. Yeah, because you're right. But I was like,
But you didn't go, what? What are you talking about? Why would you know that? What's going on?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Okay.
Not worth it.
So I do pack my supplies, and we get there, and we're like trying to, yay, let's go putt-putt golf with Jane Maley.
How old is she?
I guess
7,
8,
yeah,
9. Because when I tell her, she's 9, so she's probably 9 in there. So, because on that trip, he's like, have you started yet? And I'm like, oh my God.
What's happening? What is your interest all of a sudden?
Somebody's talking to him too.
I was like, but he never said, like, I just got this, I had this weird, like, he never referenced some kind of inner knowing.
Yeah.
So anyway, he finally is like, I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. I'm going to the store. So he went and he bought a test. And so in that little Austin Airbnb, I found out that I was indeed pregnant.
And what are you feeling when it is confirmed?
I think...
Or do you feel like you already knew, or was it like,
Right,
I
I don't
needed that
know.
extra, like,
Yeah.
okay, this is for
Yeah,
real
I
happening?
really don't know. And knowing me, like, I might have even forgotten that bathroom conversation. Like, it's cycled back, you know?
Oh, but it was March because we had our Lucky Charms. That was the first time I saw you after you knew was our Lucky Charms breakfast.
And annual Lucky Charms on St. Patrick's Day.
Cute.
So,
I know.
We didn't have anything. We didn't have the internet, you guys. It was just us.
I know.
Just
Just
not
us
rolling
in a
our eyes
box.
like it's not cool. Rolling. I mean, I don't know if she is, but I'm like going, I don't do anything right. So cute.
it was so cute.
So you
find
find
out
out
I'm
you're
pregnant.
And how are you
So
processing
that's,
this?
well, so, okay. Oh, thank you. See, this helps. We have to throw in the Enneagram. I'm discovering, thanks to Jenny, that I'm a 9. And I always say, what number am I? I'm the type that takes the dumb personality test and then can't remember what I am. Like, but
That's
she's-
me. She's like, oh, you're a 9.
So anyway, but finally, after all the things that Jenny has told me to do and learn more about myself, like Enneagram finally meant something to me. And I was like, I can actually remember that number. And when I read those words, it actually means something to me. So it was really helping me connect with like who I am and how I move through the world. We had learned that Trailer was an 8, and that was helping us learn and connect with how he moves, which is the reason why he's like, I'm going to buy a test. And I'm like, no, I need to just, yeah. Anyway, in that moment, like that was one of my first really big moments of being able to honor my peacemaker
You got to use
self and
put those tools to use.
Yes,
Yeah.
and he was just so devastated by the news, and his devastation is very challenging to my
Well, and I mean,
peacemaker.
Christina somewhat alluded to this. What they were going through as parents was almost hell. It was so hard. So imagine, it's not like they couldn't fantasize, oh, a new baby and it's cute clothes and we're going to like they were living through like, oh, parenting is beyond the hardest thing ever. So it wasn't like he wasn't being a bad sport. It was a tough time.
Yeah.
That's good to say. So in the midst of that, I just was able to say, like, you need space to be who you are and respond how you need to respond.
Just do it somewhere else.
Yeah, I need you to know how much work that asks of me and my peacemaker to be able to give you that space and the permission to respond. Because everything inside of me is like 5-alarm fire going off. Trailer's, upset. He's disappointed. He's frustrated.
I need to fix it.
I need us all to be okay. So that was my first time, and that was his first time to really be able to hear and understand the gravity of what that gift was to him, where he was respecting it as opposed to expecting it or assuming that that was his right. So that was we had a couple weeks of like, we couldn't talk to each other. We felt weird with each other, and kind of like we didn't know what to do with it. And
There's obviously the hike that led up to this. So,
the barn, Beckham being the barn baby.
You conceived on a hike?
Well, it was in a barn
on a hike.
So anyway, that was fun. I was saying, yay us, that 20-something years into our marriage, we had
exactly.
a
That's what I'm saying.
tryst and a rendezvous.
You're irresistible. That's why he had to take that space from you. Is my point.
In the barn. So I'm actually substituting, and there is a day that I'm substituting a PE class and there's fun music and the kids are all dancing to this music. And I just was like, I messaged him and I said, I'm ready for us to be us again. Like, I miss us. And that was just what helped us go, okay. And then there is a whole other gorgeous part of the story, but that is the essence there.
So I will bring this to understanding the closeness of this. Ava was born 2 weeks before Beckham. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys know, in the exact same hospital room.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I knew that at the time.
Right. Same exact room. So 2 weeks later, I'm in the same hospital room. Just like, how could this be? This is so wild. So for me, I mean, I think I remember you telling me this. You're like, she's so excited about being an aunt. We're going to just slip this one in on it. And it was so
all of my
really
friends
special.
were thrilled that I was having a baby.
Right.
It's very exciting to be excited for the person that's going through.
But it was also so much easier. Like their baby showers happened, I think, a week apart at my house. So it was really good to me to be like, I got in this lane, and now Christina's just getting into this lane, and I can do it and love it. So they're just, I even tell then I don't know how much I've talked about Skip on this podcast, if I ever have, but
I don't think so.
So one of my best friends from high school has a little boy who's just a few months older than Ava. And so whenever I'm talking to any group of people, I'm like, my 10-year-olds, my 11, I'm always referring to the three of them and watching them navigate the totally unique culture that their age group is in compared to Jane Maley, compared to Avery, compared to Brandon and Keenan and Larson.
I always said I'm a really good friend because I probably have a life experience for anyone, in terms of
covered
parenting.
all of the age ranges. What if you had to pick an age range that has felt the most difficult?
You're probably better to answer this
for
than
you. I think for you it is when the late middle school, high school age, when kids are kind of too cool for everything. I think that is with your own kids, I think that's the biggest gap of like everything you have to offer and their resistance is y'all. I would give credit to all four of y'all for powering through those years, right? Like just the year, when kids are going to roll their eyes at everything you say or whatever. Well, like exponentially, that's Christina. She's like, but I have a little, mom. And that just getting through that gap of how magical she is. And I do think that's part, obviously every child it's their own incredible gift to a family. But I think Beckham's gift to your family was that they got to see you operate in your very best with a littler one.
They could appreciate it, right?
And that there was energy
to appreciate
and
it
that there was energy to go towards that. So she wasn't doing that to them, And so it's like I think they have gotten to see more of who you are because of Beckham.
I think so.
Do you feel like? Do you know yet why he was supposed to be born?
Oh,
Are you waiting?
I love that question because there have been multiple times that I was like, I think this might be. So I don't think there is one grand. I've just seen little moments. And at one point he was little, like not even verbal, and put his hand on my heart and said, Grandma Brownie. And I said, should we pray for Grandma Brownie's heart? And he said, and then we found out that she was having a heart episode, and it was like very much within that time frame.
Wow.
So that was like, oh, that's one. Sweeter lately is I was like, oh, what if Beckham needed to be here for me? And there's just been multiple times where like I went and taught at the Montessori school because he was at that Montessori school and I needed to make money to be able to pay for his school and Jane Maley's dance. And I would have never done that. I would have never discovered WanderPonder. I can't say never.
Right.
The way I discovered WanderPonder was through that avenue. And I'm now teaching at a homeschool tutorial And again, I was like, I'm doing that because that's where Beckham is. So there's been moments that have opened.
Yeah, the doors that our kids open for us.
Yeah, I'm going to cry.
Okay.
I think that when I had my kids, I was so young, and no one else had kids in my story, in my world. And they really, truly represented like the death of me. And I was like, I haven't become anything. I'm not anything or whatever. And when Christina dropped into my world, she did not ever, there was no part of her consciousness that thought there was anything in the world better than being a mom, that there was anywhere else to be but to be a mom. And I watched her take all of her talents and abilities and put them on her children and then on my children, right? And Brandon, when he was tiny, he did not like to be with anybody but family ever. And the first time she babysat him, Mom and I were painting at the house, and she was like, I'll take Brandon. And she came over to see us, and Brandon, like, he was snuggling with her. He was like, let's go back. You know, my mom and I were like, he loves her. He loves her. And oh my God, he loves her so much today. But what it did to me is it made me take all of my wishes and dreams out there and be like, not in terms of I'm going to be the best mom ever. Yeah. We didn't live in that. That wasn't a thing. That wasn't even the collective was not trying to be a perfect mom. That wasn't out there. We certainly weren't watching anybody else do it. But it was like she inspired me to put meaning and development into my kids. And think that if every mom could put all of herself into her kids, she would get to see the most of herself that she has to offer the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost like this microcosm of your skills and abilities that I guess when I was in that space, it was always like career or family, like or the great balancing act and priorities. And what I learned from her and what I learned through that time is I am becoming who I am made to be as my children's mom. Right. Like I've been thinking of this phrase, parents aren't born, they're made. Mm-hmm. And your kids make you. And if you let them make you, you will start realizing these things you have to offer the universe. And I can't even imagine who I would be or what my life would be without Christina showing me that. And that wasn't something you could read in a book or you could read in a blog. Like you have to actually watch somebody live that out. Mm-hmm. And I'll forever, I am me because of you.
And I'm me because of you.
Sarah, I'm me because of you. What you were just saying, like, I feel like that has, this year, specifically with the short film, I wouldn't have anything to write about. I wouldn't, right. Like, they're so equally destroyed me and gave me my real story at the same time.
That's so good.
I do always feel like when I'm around you, you make me a better person.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
Yeah. I mean, I have more questions about, I'd like you to start a blog so I can see you being a mom so I can understand what exactly, like the micro of what you mean and figure that out. I want to know, do you mean when you say putting your whole self into your kids and like that like entails not working, or do you mean, what do you mean?
I think it is the only work that matters. I think I've done like lots of studies on the word work and the idea of work and what work is. And we have work, we usually associate work with either the thing that makes money to make us live or the thing that is like, this is my work. I have to do this. This is what I'm made to do. This is what I'm here to do. I think that if you think that if you are striving for it to be something, if you are a mom and you're striving for it to, you're finding it, or you think you're getting your identity, or you're trying to anchor yourself in something, that's different than making money to pay for your children's house, right? But that's like, I think if people saw and felt like, this is my work, this is my real work, this is my forever work, like this is it, this person, that's it. You might still have a job that makes money. You might still have a job that gives you a tremendous amount of meaning. Like, but that all of that, it won't ever give you what you're looking to get.
I think there was a point when I was doing one of my ventures that I realized I was looking past my kids. It was like, you're in my way to get to where I'm trying to go. And I was just like, I don't want to feel like they're in my way.
Right.
Like they're a block to where I'm trying to go. And so I ended up saying, they're my 4, like somebody was trailer being an entrepreneur and business owner. I was like, these are my 4 like $1 million corporations investments. Yeah. And even when I'm doing the work that I'm doing to go back, because it was like, I was just starting to really full on pursue WanderPonder. And then the invitation came to homeschool Beckham. And I was just like, I'm doing it again. So I did do some soul searching with that. But I thought, you know what? I will always have time to do WanderPonder and invest. And it can even I think it's when you put those boulders, that thing where you put the things in
big
place
things, yeah.
and then you watch.
Do y'all know that it's like if you have sand, pebbles, and rocks, and then you have like a container, you can fit all of them in there as long as the big rocks go first. If you put the sand in first and the pebbles, then the rocks won't fit in. That's what she's saying. Like your kids are the big rocks.
Put those in first.
They're the big rocks.
Everything will find its
And so
place.
that was with Beckham. I was like, if I homeschool, I'm really not going to be able to build WanderPonder. And I just thought ROI, of an investment. I have the sense that I will have a greater return on my investment with Beckham. Of course, are there going to be beautiful things that happen with other children? Do I adore that? Absolutely. Am I getting to do it in a different way than I expected at his tutorial? Yes. Am I still open to WanderPonders? 100%.
Yeah.
But Beckham is my boulder, and that's in.
Yeah.
And then all those other things will fill in.
I guess I really want to hammer this down. I think the best you have to offer will be an extension of what you discover in that process. It's not going to be like a completely off in left field, thing. It's like, it's actually more helping me do that other thing. It's not that I'm choosing that this other thing's going to take away.
Right. Where can people find WanderPonder?
Well, Christina. In the woods somewhere, under a tree.
In their own backyard.
Where can they find you online?
WanderPonder in their own backyard. WanderPonder.net.
Okay.
Instagram is at WanderPonder Learning. Now, I will say it's Wander. WANDER, Ponder, PONDER. So some people obviously can tell spelling is important to me. So
wandering around. Thank you guys for being
Thank you for having us.
Oh my gosh, this was dreamy.
Thank you.
We could have covered so many. We could talk forever.
Yeah, this could have gone longer. We should maybe do another one. You can follow us at Momcult Podcast on Instagram, and you can listen at themomcult.com or anywhere you get your podcast.
That is true.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you guys.